Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Sorry about this delay. There was a bit of a technical issue, but yeah, please bear with me. Unfortunately, as a result, we're going to miss a demo, but be it as it may, these things happen in life. Let's continue. So, once again, hello. My name is Michal Adamski. I'm from DNVGL. I'm a business intelligence developer, and I'm heavily involved in the governance and the adoption of Power BI solutions within DNVGL globally, actually. But I'm focusing mainly in the maritime industry. Now, what is the objective of this session? Now, the main thing here is to present self-service BI as a means to bring business closer to data, to enrich that kind of self-service environment with this thing called customer centricity. What is this customer centricity? And I think the last question here is, can we actually create this truly customer-centric self-service experience that really balances the technical effort that's required with the customer satisfaction that is also required from the other side? So, what are we going to talk about? So a few words about DNVGL. We're going to talk about self-service BI. Where does the customer centricity fit in? What are some common data and reporting challenges within big data as well as general challenges as well? 5 self-service opportunities. We'll look at key tasks involved in creating self-service BI. How does self-service currently look like within DNVGL? And we'll finish off with a nice summary. Now, very quickly, DNVGL. What is DNVGL? So, ultimately, we're in the business of selling trust, right? We help businesses manage their risks through one of the main tasks that we have is certification and classification. Now, a bit about the company here. We've got a 150-year history, 100 countries, many diverse client portfolio, and we've got many employees all over the world. Now, this is the key thing here. So now the key business areas within DNVGL. We've got our maritime, we've got oil and gas, we've got our energy business, business assurance, and software, and a massive research and innovation push. Now, I find myself more working with clients and building self-service within the maritime business. So I'll be talking more about that. So, a key focus within DNVGL, digitalisation. I think this is one of those buzzwords that are floating around all over the show. Everyone is talking about this thing, digitalisation. How can we maximize our information assets to give us the highest yield? Now, in our view, the two things are quality service delivery. That's one of the major drivers of this, improving our quality. And of course, creating efficient operations. Now, what are these two things actually supported by? Customer centricity. Now, when we talk about self-service BI, okay, where does this actually fit in? We're bringing in a lot of things here. Well, self-service BI is a vehicle in which we can use to empower customer centricity in order to achieve our goals of digitalization. Now, so what is self-service BI? So the official kind of Gartner definition here, right? Self-service business intelligence is defined here as end users designing and deploying their own reports and analysis within an improved and supported architecture and tools portfolio. So what that actually means is giving the power back to the users and actually enabling them to create their own insights, to go through the data on their own terms and produce their own reports without too much intervention or restrictions from anybody else in an ideal world. Now, of course, there are many players in the self-service market. I'm sure many of you will probably know a lot of these vendors. Just out of curiosity, right? Who is currently using or implementing any self-service BI? Okay, quite a few of you. Excellent. Okay, so where does this thing called customer centricity actually fit in, right? So for DNVGL, what does that actually mean? So number one, building relationships and business based on trust, okay? Like I mentioned before, we're in the organization, we're in the business of selling trust. Number two, to truly meet our customers' needs. What they want is typically we have to strive to deliver that. And at the center of that is, of course, putting them in the center of everything that we actually do. Now, as big data professionals, a lot of you are probably sitting here thinking, okay, like, what does this actually have to do with me, right? Now, let's just take a step back now and realize that as data professionals, right, the solutions that we're producing, the hours that we're putting in, the clients that we're dealing with, the countless hours of thinking and actually delivering and all that effort, it means something. It's valuable, right? And at the end of the day, it's the customers, right, are the ones who are actually paying it, and we need to direct that to them, right? And at the same time, give us more of a meaning and give us a way to get closer to that. Now, so when you talk about customers, okay, what is it that they're typically actually looking for? So in my experience, in our view, customers are looking for an easy, a structured, and a simple experience when it comes to exploring their data. Now, how can we actually empower them? Now, in my projects working with our maritime business, we've kind of seen certain themes come about, and based on those themes, I'd like to present some tips in which what we can use to strengthen our relationships with our stakeholders. And this isn't just purely just customers, people who are clients. This is typically can be applied to anything, right? Your bosses, your managers are effectively your clients as well. So, number one, realize that we're all on the same team together, right? This is not something we just push and we throw onto you and say, thank you, have a great day, and goodbye. This is a journey that we're actively evolving together, especially, the days of the waterfall are kind of dying. Now we're more agile. Now we're a lot closer to the customers, especially as developers. We're actively involved. We actually have direct input nowadays in the actual output of the solutions that we're providing. Now, number two, very critical, designing with the end in mind, right? Actively involving our customers in the evolution of the stories that they are trying to tell, but at the same time, giving our input and allowing ourselves to express our creativity in that journey. Now, of course, in the world of, structured, unstructured, semi-structured data, it can be a bit chaotic. I mean, we've seen some unbelievable presentations today with some really great solutions. And at the end of the day, customers like structure. They like things to make sense. We don't want to have too many rules and too many things. Okay, I need to remember this to do this. They want to be able to click and this in order to really reduce their stress and, of course, get the value out of the self-service or the data that they're consuming. So out of that, we want to create, or at least simulate as best as possible, some sort of structure that they can use. Now, show working products and pictures. Now, this is a very simple, these sound so obvious, but really, in my meetings, when I'm sitting there and I'm explaining rules and I'm saying, okay, this is what we need to do, theoretically this, or this is what we've done, at the end of the day, it's not as impactful as actually showing a picture, showing an actual model, or showing something that they can actually use. We need to respect that these customers are not necessarily technical people, and we have to kind of translate all of those things in a way that they can understand and that they don't feel intimidated by us or lose that trust that we are trying to build. Now, of course, realizing that they, just like us, are very busy people, and they're very stressed, and they've got targets and things that they need to deliver as well. So we need to respect that. And that ties into number 6. So we need to minimize and optimize the communications that we have with our clients, right? With our stakeholders, in order to get the knowledge it is that we need from them, but also not having a situation where we're asking, re-asking things, we're wasting their time, we have unnecessary meetings. We need to respect that. And when we do that, the relationships tend to go a lot better. They treat us a lot better, and it just makes the work life so much more better and so much more fulfilling. Now, another very, very key thing, actually capturing that knowledge. When you have those meetings, those requirements meetings, etc., with your clients, capture that knowledge. Put it somewhere and share it with your people, with your teams. Ensure that there is an adequate knowledge transfer within and with an optimal knowledge transfer with the client as well. Sometimes they need some education on the technical aspects and vice versa. The business needs education on the business side. And what we've noticed is that, especially in the technical environment, there is a lot of lack of, or there's a tendency to not document the business principles, the actual real why in our document, in the actual technical documentation as well, which makes it a bit difficult. Okay, you understand what's going on here, but what is this actually for? What does this mean? And I think as developers, as data professionals, this creates a level of stress, at least it does in my view, when I'm thinking, well, what does this actually do? And then I'm kind of playing the role as the business analyst, kind of running around calling clients, and then, okay, what does this actually mean? Okay, then building my own big picture, and then from there, going and being able to apply creativity and saying, okay, these are the pieces, and let's join the dots, and going so forth. So let's just take a look at now some general reporting challenges that at least we see in our business quite a lot. Now, when we're talking about, of course, the kind of traditional BI, now this is a big data conference, but at the end of the day, this is something that'll always be there, and this is ultimately something that we have to adapt our outputs to in one way or another, right? So that our businesses, so that the customers can actually consume this, right? So when we talk about long report development and change time, customers don't want to have to wait for insights. They don't want to have to fill out document, like change requests and all of these things, wait 6 weeks in order for them to get the insights that they need. We no longer have the luxury of that time anymore in this economy, that's for sure. Complex query and a lack of skills. Now, of course, if you look on any job board in Tri-City, you can see there's a huge demand for IT professionals. It's actually really hard to attract great talent who have an eye for data and also who have a curiosity for the business. And even not only from the IT point of view, but also from the business point of view, for the client point of view, you may only have, well, at least in our view, in my clients, I have, I think, 2 people who actually understand SQL queries, who are actually able to have a technical conversation with and go forth and actually do things together with. But that's such a strange bottleneck. It's a huge bottleneck. And at the same time, working with those analysts, working with business, it shouldn't necessarily be their responsibility to do the technical work for us. That's why we exist. That is why IT exists. Now, number 3, data granularity. Now, when we're actually provisioning these data solutions, what kind of granularity do we need to serve to our customers? Now, do we do it at a high level? Is that acceptable? Or do we do it at a detailed level? Now, I think the kind of traditional answer to this is to, of course, ask the client, what do they want? Okay, they say, okay, we want it at this level. Say if we're talking about dates, we want it at a monthly level, no problem. But the thing is, business changes. Business is a rapidly evolving thing. And all of a sudden, in 3 months, they want it at weekly level or daily level. What do you do in that situation? How can you tackle that challenge? Do you have to remodel everything, or are you able to have some mechanism in place or some kind of design opportunity that enables you to cater for that kind of need as the business grows? Now, data quality and incompatible data sets. A big one, quite a big data problem as well. How do we actually get all of the systems to talk to each other? Now, I mentioned previously DNVGL, where we've got a long history, right, 150-year history, and of course that results in a lot of data sets, a lot of little databases and little things here and there, and every single technology has their own rules, their own teams, and the people who implemented that technology are not necessarily still in the company because this was many years ago. And it's all about how do we go into that? How do we filter that? How do we create some kind of a master data kind of function that actually works? And of course, creating compatibility in a way that we can kind of combine that data that is needed to answer those critical business questions from the customer, right? So with the number 5, lack of flexibility in static reporting. Okay, this is pretty much a given. You can only do what is available in the kind of static report that you provide, right? Data models. Now, when we talk about provisioning data models for a client, what is the kind of balance that you need to set here? Do you provision fewer, larger kind of master data models, a more singular version of the truth, or do we focus on many smaller models, right? In certain situations, you have a model or a semantic model specific for each report, but then it may do the job, but at the end of the day, you may end up with a complete maintenance nightmare. Right? I think that's something we had, I think it was about 10 years ago, where there was a lot of multidimensional cubes, and there were cubes kind of provisioned on-premise for each reporting function, and then all of a sudden it just became a nightmare, and then we had to scrap the entire thing and rethink how we were going to do this. So, very important. And of course, a big one, huge, security and sharing. How do we actually manage the data? How can we secure it? And also, how do we prevent and educate users from not just ruthlessly sharing data outside of organizations or anywhere where they can't use it? Now, everybody gets a spreadsheet. Now, this very important point. What happens when businesses are constrained by things like this? Right? It doesn't mean that their requirements just disappear. All right? It means that people start resolving to what is known as, I think it was Chris Webb or someone mentioned this topic called shadow IT, right? Which is effectively people kind of combining their own, getting kind of unofficial data extracts from his buddy in IT here, pulling all sorts of different things, and all of a sudden you have a situation, where all this data comes into the most famous BI tool that businesses use, and that is, of course, Excel. So you have all these Excels everywhere. And a lot of the clients that I'm working with, especially when a new project comes in, they're like, okay, so this is how we're doing it. And we do this, and we have this Excel, but then we have to manually copy it to this, and then we have to kind of copy it here, and then we have to apply these rules, and then we have to go and filter this. And this is what we do every single week. And it's like, okay, maybe we can rethink that entire process and maybe save a massive amount of time and effort here, and in that effort. Now, so coming back to this thing called self-service BI. What are the actual opportunities here? So, faster analysis and report creation, their way. Of course, this is quite an obvious point here, but what does this actually mean? It basically means giving users a data source or some kind of data that they can actually go and take the insights themselves. Pretty much enabling that definition of self-service, which we have previously discussed. Now, what else is that? If we can empower users with that data source, right, what does that actually mean? It means less pressure on actual IT to manage their entire reporting journey, and we give them the power to do it, and so there's less contact with IT. And that's definitely something that we found, where there were always calls and emails and things about, okay, we need this change, we need this done, we need this done. But when we're actually giving them the power to do it themselves, the phone doesn't ring as much, right? I mean, I'm happy because I can continue with my thing, with my stuff, but at the same time, it also empowers them to continue with their stuff. And I think everybody wins at the end of the day if you get this balance right. Self-service reporting flexibility. You're actually enabling flexible solutions. They're able to slice and dice in a means that you cannot typically achieve in a standard report. They can add their own slices. They can produce their own algorithms or their own analysis, and I think that's really important. Now, when you construct a semantic model, now, just a brief definition on a semantic model, an abstraction between all those data sources and all those things that typically sits after your data warehouse. Because, of course, at least in our case, we have many data warehouses as well, so you can't always necessarily report directly from the warehouse. So when we're talking about the semantic layer, even is a level that sits above that, combining all of your kind of structured and semi-structured data into a means, in a way that is friendly for the users to actually consume. Now, what is the main byproduct of that? You no longer have to deal with all of these complex and crazy SQL queries and things that, once again, business shouldn't be focusing on, technical details. They shouldn't be focusing on technical things. Okay, semantic modeling again, critical. You're actually providing a managed data source and a single version of the truth. You're reducing the appetite of shadow BI, right? And you're actually saving their time and you're saving yours, and at the same time, you're not giving yourself a compliance nightmare down the road as well. So, when we talk about self-service BI, okay, what are the key tasks actually involved in here? Now, again, number one, requirements. We need to understand the intended usage. Now, as data professionals, what typically we do is we look at the technology. Okay, are we going to look at Tableau? Okay, what are the capabilities of Tableau? Okay, let's compare that with Click. Okay, what can we do? What can't we do from a technology point of view? And then from there, from a proposal, let's do that. But what we found, what is more effective is actually going back to the customer and actually asking, first of all, what is it that you want to experience? How do you want to experience this data, right? They may not necessarily know the answer to that, but we have to help them, guide them on the journey. Of course, we focus on how they consume the data, but at the same time, we need to always make sure that there's a meeting point between there. Now, once we have an understanding of how users are intending on consuming the data, we need to go forth and find where are those data sources, where's all that data, what is actually going to answer that business question, okay? Part of that is actually transforming and creating some kind of a semantic layer, some kind of model that the users can consume. By combining, of course, all of those and reducing complexity based on the requirements. And naturally, the kind of operational aspect, the deployment, the maintenance, and all of those various things. Securing the model, critical. And overarching this whole entire process is very, very important. How do you actually manage this whole process? The governance. And as you're going through this journey with the customer, as we've described, how are we actually documenting the knowledge? Best practices. We're capturing the knowledge. We're learning our lessons from that to making it better for us as the development team and for the clients going forward. And once we have all that in place, it makes it easier to kind of scale your solutions up. So, in DNVGL, how are we doing it? Well, I can speak for myself here, and within the maritime business, the solution that we've chosen is a combination of Azure Analysis Services, Microsoft Azure Analysis Services, together with our main tool here, which is Power BI. And naturally, how we've connected this is we have it connected through the on-premise gateway to our various data warehouses. We have many different kinds of databases. We have Netezza, we have Oracle, we have many, many different solutions. But then again, we've also have a major push to the cloud. So we have a lot of data moving into the cloud, and that is how that's effectively the sources, and that's how we gather the data, and then from there we're able to model that into our primary Azure Analysis Services, and then from there we have a direct connection via Power BI to that. So a brief question on why does that we actually like, why did we choose this? So quite simply, we like the flexibility of Power BI. We like the lower learning curve. It's a shared technology. The tabular technology is shared within Azure Analysis Services, Tabular, and Power BI. And there's a wide range of connectors, so it makes it a lot easier. So a high-level view of the kind of things that we're actually doing. This is a real shot of kind of a subset of one of the semantic layers that we've produced. I don't know if you can actually read that, but yeah. So this is an example of something that we would expose. Now, of course, we come back to what do clients actually want? Simplicity. So we wouldn't go and expose all of this to them and be like, have fun, right? What we want to do is we want to put context to this. We want to create perspectives. We want to expose them to only certain pieces of that. And then from there, educate them and walk with them, as we've said, what is it that we want to do? And create the context, and this is how you can use it. This is how you can maximize that data. Now, we spoke about Power BI is consuming that data. So very briefly, how we're doing it, we've got the Power BI service as our main means, because Power BI is a cloud service. So a lot of these reports are actually created even by ourselves, because self-service doesn't necessarily mean that we don't help clients build reports. That's not necessarily. Some clients don't want to do self-service, but we can still use the semantic layer to actually create reports for them, right? So we have reports that we create, which we can publish directly to the Power BI service via the Power BI app to them, or they do it themselves. No problem. It's all under the same kind of thing, and when you're actually consuming the report, you may not necessarily know who actually published it, right? Could be business, could be IT, and I think that's what I really like about the consistency around that. Now, in order for people to create those reports, we have the Power BI desktop, and the thing that we've been kind of playing with is the Power BI mobile, which is the Power BI mobile app, connecting to the reports and consuming it on the go. So this is a typical kind of example of how we're using, this is an actual example of a report that we have in Power BI, exposed via the Power BI app, where we just to provide a little bit of context here within the maritime business, a customer may say, okay, we are doing surveys on a vessel. A vessel maybe is actually a ship or a mobile offshore unit, and they want to know, okay, just tell me very quickly the main question is, if we're doing surveys, how many errors are experienced in the survey process, and what are the nature of those errors? And then we can go and walk with them and say, okay, well, first of all, we look at the certificates, right? The certificate is something that's typically issued as a result of a survey that we provide. So maybe there's a couple of certificates here. Great. And then we can go and say, okay, what are the questions? Okay, we can see, okay, these are the reviews. These are the kind of, the main kind of answer here that's provided is, okay, how many are we actually doing without any errors or any blips in the system? And then the question kind of evolves and says, okay, we can create it by date, we can create it by region, we can do all of these different things. And what I really like about this is how you see it here. The complexity as it is here is not, there's no fancy tricks behind this. The development process is also very simple. Now, unfortunately, right, for those of you who came late, or came a bit later, there was a bit of a technical issue, and there was a demo which I wanted to show you in the Power BI desktop. So unfortunately, we won't get to go through that yet, but I'll be happy to grab me afterwards, and I'll show you on my laptop, no problem. Because I wanted to actually show you a little bit more on that development process. But be it as it may, maybe that's the cliffhanger for part 2. So we'll keep it there. So ultimately, this is what it looks like. Now, let's go back to the key question. Is it actually possible, at the end of the day, to create a customer-centric self-service BI kind of environment? Now, is it actually possible, really? Absolutely. It is. Of course it is. But there are success factors that you need to consider, right? Success factors. You need to have, coming back, the clear definition, working with the customer, having that efficient communication, understanding how it is that they want to consume the data, and documenting it in a way that everybody understands. Managing the data complexity, understanding your data resources. And it's not just your structured, your unstructured, your semi-structured data in a way that you can provision that into your semantic layer. Competency and knowledge transfer. Of course, you need skills in your team. You need the capabilities in your team to actually produce it, to actually make the magic happen. And they must be willing to share and to work as a tribe, as a kind of a team that moves forward the success of the entire team. And once again, clear and honest communication with everybody, not just clients, but everybody, your customers, your bosses, your product owners, your scrum masters, everybody is in this together, as we've described. So with that, what did we briefly discuss? We spoke about, a bit about DNVGL, customer service. Okay, you guys can read this, what we discussed. But in closing, what I'd like to say is, at the end of the day, it's the customer is the reason why we exist. Somebody at the end of the day needs an answer, and we exist to provide that answer with the technicalities and with the technical knowledge that we actually possess. And not being afraid to actually kind of look out the jar and actually get closer with that customer and actually helping them, working with customers is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something that is really important. And if we get the entire source or the ingredients of the source right, then absolutely self-service is possible, it is more than possible, and it just makes the working life just a lot more pleasurable for yourselves as data professionals as well as business. So with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for staying for this presentation, and I'd be happy to take any questions now. And if anybody wants to grab me afterwards to see the demo app, I'm very happy to do that. Thanks. Any questions? Yeah?
Questions about Excel. You mentioned that it is considered to be a BI tool, but can we fully consider it a BI tool in the full sense of this word? I mean, right now, not in the future.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. So the question is, we talked about BI as Excel as a business intelligence tool, but can we fully consider it as a BI tool, right? Well, at the end of the day, let's define what a BI tool is, right? A BI tool, in my view, is a way of answering a certain business question. We talk BI, business intelligence, right? Data coming from business or from any data source, and we need to create some kind of an insight from that. So when we talk about Excel, right? Excel is the oldest, most well-known database / kind of insights provider known, because with Excel, as we know with a spreadsheet, it's not just data in a spreadsheet. You can do graphs, you can connect spreadsheets to other spreadsheets. You've got more like Power Pivot technology, all of these things. So, and yes, you can use it. The tool has many functionalities, and it all comes down to what it is that you want to do with it. You can achieve BI with Excel, of course. And in our situation, we have some users, right, who connect to the semantic model with Excel. Right? They connect directly to the semantic model. They will import us, or they'll expose certain tables directly in Excel via Power Pivot. That is perfectly normal thing. And from there, they can create their own insights from that. Anything that maybe someone might look at Power BI and say, okay, this is still too new for me, or maybe it doesn't have necessarily a feature that I want, or I want to create a really complex formula, but I can't do it in Power BI, then of course they're more than welcome to go and use something like Excel to extend that. But I know, for me, I want to know about that so that I can extend my current semantic model to cater for that, because I don't want to have a situation where people are now, once again, creating all of these hacks and things in order to get insights out. So I hope that answers your question. Okay? Any other questions? So with that, thank you all again, and have a great weekend.